Aloha, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to the first hearing for the Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts. Today is Monday, February 1st, 2021. It's 3 p.m. and we are in conference room 225. First of all, I'd like to introduce the members of my committee for those who are viewing us online. Myself as chair, I'm Brian Taniguchi. My vice chair is Senator Les Ihara, and our members are Senator Stanley Chang, Senator Jarrett Keohokalole, and Senator Kurt Favela. Today we have, oh, I'm sorry, I gotta do my other stuff. Oh, sorry, housekeeping. Have some housekeeping announcements first. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. Let's see. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, February 3rd, in this conference room, which is conference room 225. For the people participating remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. Note the time limit per person is 2 minutes, but we'll probably, because of the number of people, we'll probably not be enforcing it as strictly as we normally would. Okay, I guess I will not be reading all the names of the people who are testifying, but I'll mention something about that later. If there are temporary glitches, technical glitches during your turn to testify, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that the committee has your written testimony. Okay, we'll have decision making after after we received all the testimony and all the members of the committee have an opportunity to ask questions. Okay. Today we have two bills, both relating to unemployment insurance rates for employers. Unemployment insurance is a complicated subject because primarily of the interaction between federal and state laws. We have two bills, Senate Bill 1159, which is relating to employment security, and Senate Bill 682, which also is relating to employment security. Because of our current rules and access limitations, only 7 people have signed up to testify online for each bill. We have received 54 testimonies for Senate Bill 1159 and 49 written testimonies for Senate Bill 682. For those of you who would care to do so, you can submit written testimony until midnight tonight, Monday night. Okay, we will, as I mentioned, we'll have decision making after all the testimony and questions from members. The committee will, I'm sorry. After all the testimony and questions from members, the committee will recess briefly, and then we will reconvene and vote on the chair's recommendation. So we'll begin with the testifiers for, well, the testifiers for both bills are the same. So I would ask that the testifiers try to combine their testimonies if possible, and I guess comment on both bills. We'll begin with testimony from the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, Director Ann Pereira-Estachio. Ann?
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair Taniguchi, Vice Chair Ihara, members of the Senate Committee of Labor, Culture, and the Arts. Thank you for having me here this afternoon. I know that this is a very important bill that we'll be discussing this afternoon. I won't read my whole testimony, but I do want to address certain aspects of this bill. And so this bill that we are proposing will set the tax schedules for employers in the state of Hawaii for contribution payments to D, F, and G for 21, 22, and 23. The department worked long and hard on determining what schedules should be set for the next 3 years. We know that employers have been impacted greatly here in the state, and that the determinant of whether they come back on board, bring employees back, get us back up to speed, help us with the economic recovery and economic growth is very determinant on them being able to survive here in Hawaii in this economy. We've chosen Schedule D to start off with because of several aspects. Within the bill, we are proposing to omit benefit charges to employers for the contribution years of 21 and 22. So when we calculate an employer's experience for the years of 21 and 22, the calculation will omit charges for employers for 20 and 21. This omission of benefit charges will greatly impact employers with a positive experience. This positive experience will help all employers on the tax schedule. This omission of benefit charges will allow employers to omit those charges that were directly impacted them through COVID, but allow them to use their contributions paid in 20 and 21 to help with an additional benefit on their experience. In 2020, there were 15% of employers who received a 0% rate. With this new process of omitting benefit charges and considering contributions for 20 and 21, there will be a total of, a percentage of over 15% of employers who receive the lowest unemployment insurance rate on Schedule D. That lowest rate is 0.2%. The reason why we went with D is on Schedule C, more than 15% of employers would get a 0% rate. At this time, in this economy, in this environment, we thought that this was a time when everyone in Hawaii needed to come together, help everyone out, and get us all back on our feet. We thought it would be the equitable and fair way to get every employer to be responsible and help with the insolvency of the trust fund, that we all could get together in this aloha state and help with bring back the solvency of this fund to some level of balance. If we do not decide on a tax schedule this legislative session, we will be set with Schedule H. Schedule H is right now the statutory calculation for 2021. The impact to employers have been great, but I think the responsibility of us all here in the state to help to balance this fund is what is really needed at this time. I know that we have asked congressional delegation for relief to help with the loan that was taken out, And we are hoping that that will be something that we will see in the future. So right now, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee, we have some time. We have some time to stay on a very low schedule, which is Schedule D, have all employers contribute to help to bring back the fund, and we have time to see what will happen with the congressional delegation and the environment in Congress. And so I thank you for the opportunity to provide you with some information this morning on our proposal.
Okay. Thank you. Would you remain available for questions later?
Yes, thank you.
Next, we have the Tax Foundation of Hawaii, Mr. Yanchika.
Thank you, Chair and members. Tom Yanchika from the. Thank you, Chair and members. Tom Yanchika from the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We have submitted written testimony largely to educate the committee and its members on relevant background information. We would like to stand on that testimony and answer any questions that the members or the chair may have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we have the Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii, Sherry Menor McNamara.
Aloha and good afternoon, Chair Taniguchi and members of the committee. Good to see all of you on Zoom, but of course we wish you could have seen each other in person, but this is the situation now and hopefully in time. We appreciate the legislature considering bills to address the unemployment insurance tax issue that, if left undone, will definitely be a tax shock and we believe hurt the overall economy and the economic recovery. And a survey amongst our members that we did recently just reaffirms this position that if nothing is done by March, that it will be a huge tax increase for members. And just to give you some examples of what those numbers look like if nothing is done, on average, it will cost $600. Right now, it's costing $600 per employee. That could jump up to $2,500 per employee. And talking to some businesses, here are some other examples. One of them, it's an additional $500,000. Another one would jump from $3,000 to overall $85,000. Another one was $150,000 to a jump of $950,000. And for this nonprofit, increase in $34,000. And these are all samples from local companies. So you can see if the schedule remains at age, what kind of significant impact it will have. This recession is unlike any other, and according to reports, economic recovery will take years to happen. So moderating the increase over the years will definitely help the economy recover, help businesses plan expenses over a larger period of time, because as you can imagine, this increase is for many of them unbudgeted, and this will minimize the impact on jobs, wages, or other benefit reductions. In reviewing the bills, I just wanted to first thank the Department of Labor, especially the director and her team's work in recognizing what the impact would be and for coming up with a proposal to help mitigate that huge increase. With that said, we do prefer the language of SB 682, which sets the UI premium rates at Schedule C for this year, and then from there gradually going up. So that would be our position, and we will stand on the rest of our testimony. But thank you for allowing the opportunity to testify, and it's good to see you on Zoom.
Thank you, Ms. McNamara. Next, we have Maui Chamber of Commerce, Pamela Tumpak. Can't hear. Can't hear. Can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somehow I went on mute again. May I continue with my testimony?
Why don't you start from the beginning?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm Pamela Timpot, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And our county went from being the having the lowest unemployment in the nation and the state to the highest unemployment in the nation and the state. So we have been the island most impacted by COVID-19 in terms of job loss. We are also the island that we've realized is most dependent on the visitor industry. We used to think the trickle-down effect was about 75%. Today, we would say it's between 85 to 95%, and personally, I'm saying it's about probably 92%. We appreciate that the committee is hearing these two bills today to address the employer contribution rate for unemployment insurance quickly, because we know that you understand this is something that if action isn't taken, businesses are going to face a tremendous hit. Maui County businesses have already seen extreme hardships, and we have a long road to recovery, as Sherry just pointed out. The challenge that we face is, when you think about our neighbor island businesses, we call them small businesses, but on a national level, they would not only be considered micro businesses, but in many cases, even smaller than that by national standards. In a recent survey of our membership, a 10% response rate came in from all of our members who are very busy trying to keep their businesses alive. And of that 10%, another 10% said they were unsure if their business will survive at all. 65% of those said this issue was either their top or among their top priorities for business survival. We understand, as Sherry pointed out, that if the rate moves from Schedule H, businesses could go from an average of $600 per employee to about an average of $2,500 per employee. So it is imperative for us that this rate stay level for 2021, or else we may see additional business closures. Our businesses who feel like their business may close outrank other businesses across the state in terms of percentage. They need help, they need stability, and they do understand that it is their responsibility to contribute to the fund. And so knowing that the rate will stay the same for them in 2021, which we hope it will, would be a great relief because it gives them that much more time to not only survive, but plan forward. We too appreciate the work that the director has done on this, and we do want to be a partner in the solution, but we also first understand that to be that partner, our businesses have to survive. So we prefer SB 682 over SB 1159 to keep the rate schedule at Schedule C this year, and then gradually increase it over 2022 and 2023. Even increasing the rate schedule in 2021 to Schedule D, as proposed in SB 1159, could be the nail in the coffin for many of our small businesses. So therefore, we ask that you pass SB 682 and amend SB 1159 to keep that rate at Schedule C this year, so that we could still be looking at gradual increases over the years that follow. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify, and particularly to have a virtual solution for all of us on the neighbor islands. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next, we have testimony from Pro Service Hawai'i, Nelson Bifitel.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. I'm Nelson Bifitel from Pro Service Hawaii. We're an HR firm that does payroll currently for about 2,400 businesses, and prior to the pandemic, we processed and provided HR service to 40,000 employees. First of all, I appreciate the political desire and a will to provide business relief, provide tax relief to our businesses, much needed. We certainly want to commend the Department of Labor and working with them for a solution. As far as our position, we're advocating to hold to Schedule C for 21 and 22, primarily for the reasons stated earlier. Businesses cannot afford a tax increase while they try to stabilize and rebuild our economy for the next year or so. So we're advocating to hold to Schedule C for 21 and 22. I also would like to make a point that has often been overlooked, and that is that we don't believe the employers should be solely responsible to replenish the UI Trust Fund. The intent of the UI Trust Fund was to provide relief to to workers while they're unemployed due to business reasons. This wasn't the case here. We were hit with a huge pandemic that government forced the businesses to shut down. That wasn't the intent for the UI fund. In fact, as a result, the UI fund was a ready-made mechanism to distribute funds to our residents who need it. I'm glad we had it, but it's more like a Social Security system where it was distribute funds to everyone. And the employers should not be solely responsible for that. As you know, the funds are 100% funded by employers. In this case, we don't believe the employers to be solely responsible. It's our job as leaders to look at other sources of funding, asking our congressional delegates for relief, and also looking at other ways that we can fund it to help employers. I think the fiduciary of the fund is the state and not the employers. And I think that if we can at least recognize that as we deal with this issue, it's our responsibility to help employers during these times, not only to lower our rates, but also finding ways to help them replenish the UI Trust Fund. Thank you.
Thank you. For our online viewers, we are taking testimony on both Senate Bill 1159 and Senate Bill 682 together. We have a handful of testifiers today, so now we'll move on to the Hawaii Food Industry Association, Lauren Zerbel.
Hi, Chair. We're not in the Zoom meeting at this time.
Okay. They're not Zooming. Okay. Okay, so we'll proceed to.
Try one more time for.
Oh, there she is. Is that her?
Yeah,
Oh, there. No.
Hi.
so Alexis Chapman for Hawaii Food.
Oh, okay. Okay, Hawaii Food Industry Association.
This is Alexis Chapman for HFIA. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. We are in support of these measures. As I believe some other testifiers have mentioned, we believe that SB 682 is the preferable measure, and that will do the most to prevent unnecessary business closures. And we're available for questions. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Finally, we have from Sherm, Hawaii, Kalani Morse. Oh.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear us?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. We appreciate this opportunity to appear and testify on behalf of the hundreds of members who participate in Sherm, Hawaii as members. I do have a video message here that I'd like to play to you from our president of Sherm, Hawaii, Bernard Nunes. But before we do that, I just wanted to reiterate on the prior testimony that, at the end of the day, employers employ, and we need them to employ. And if we make it impossible for them to continue to employ, that doesn't do anybody any good. And we all know that there are significant measures underway, or this talk of significant measures to remedy the massive shortfall in the trust fund. And until those measures are brought about, we believe that Senate Bill 682 represents a nice, or at least a reasonable measure between now and when those remedies can be put into place to make sure that this doesn't turn into a significant economic freefall for our state. So we appreciate everyone who's come together from government to industry and advocacy groups to make sure that this important measure in 682 gets implemented. So I'll stop talking now and I'll let Bernard here speak through his video.
Chair Taniguchi, Vice Chair Ihara, and members of the Committee on Labor, Culture, and Arts. Good afternoon. My name is Bernard Nunes, and I am the Chief Human Resources Officer for Island Holdings and its family of companies. I am also the president of SHRM Hawaii. SHRM Hawaii's membership is made up of 600 human resources professionals across all islands and represent over 350 companies in the state. I'm here today to testify in strong support of Senate Bill 682. As you are well aware, the impact of COVID on businesses has been tragic. Businesses are suffering, and the automatic increase in Schedule H in the state unemployment tax in March would more than triple the financial burden employers would have to cover. Employers are already struggling to remain in business and cannot afford this additional burden. SB 682 proposes that we maintain the current Schedule C for 2021 and gradually increase the schedule over the course of the next 2 years. Without this bill, more employers will close down for good. This is an important bill that employers and the livelihood of its employees need so that we can continue to support our economic recovery post-pandemic. I strongly urge the committee to support this bill and provide additional economic support to employers so that they can continue to operate in the state. Thank you for allowing me time to testify today.
Hi, good evening. This is Kim Ripley. I am a member of SHRM Hawaii Board of Directors, and I am also the Senior Manager for Global HR at Shrimp Improvement Systems located in Kona, Hawaii. So I appreciate having the opportunity to address you today in terms of our support for SB 682, providing strong support for that and any assistance that you can give to employers for decreasing this upcoming tax increase for the unemployment insurance. It is going to significantly affect the businesses that SHRM Hawaii works for on their behalf, and also for my own company. We have worked extremely hard over the last year during this pandemic to keep our costs down so that we can continue to maintain our staff and keep everyone working, and we have been successful at doing that. But we are also charged with 2021 of doing the same thing, given the status of things currently. So we would just ask the board for any assistance, or the legislature for any assistance that you can give and guidance and keeping, helping us to be able to maintain our staff. And also, I just would like to take the opportunity to mention that several of the proposed bills this session, although extremely important, also incur a lot of costs to employers, and I just implore you to take that into consideration and looking at the big picture and the timing for those bills to come into play so that we can stabilize our workforce and we can stabilize the workforce in the state and start bringing our workers back to work and, keeping businesses open and helping businesses to sustain. So just appreciate the opportunity to, address this, and that we, again, support this bill wholeheartedly to decrease the unemployment increase that we're going to be seeing this year. So I appreciate your time, and as always,
Just one other person who is going to testify for the Hawaii Restaurant Association with regard to Senate Bill 682, and it's Victor Lim.
Hey, good afternoon, Chair Taneguchi and senators on the Committee on Labor. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to testify this afternoon. I used to say that, beginning of last year, that I represent close to 3,600 restaurants in the state. Today, I'm not sure if I have 3,400 restaurants that are actively in business. When we did a survey in December, 43% of our restaurant members said that it's unlikely that they will last for 6 more months without some kind of assistance from the federal government or the state for them to stay in business. To say that many of the businesses here in Hawaii, including restaurants, are in dire straits will be an understatement. The rise in workers on the unemployment insurance during the COVID-19 is not of any business's doing, as stated by many others before me. We need to bring back economic vitality and jobs for our citizenship. SB 682, which keeps the rate for the next year at C, really is the kind of shot in the arm that we need out of the two bills to allow the business community to survive. And really, I really want to say that we appreciate this opportunity and to see that so many people, including the Director of Labor, is very cognizant of the need to make sure that to keep the rates as low as possible for our business community to survive and to continue to provide jobs. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess at this point I will cut off the public testimony and ask if there are any questions from the members for the various testifiers that we've had. Questions from members? Anybody? I can't. Senator Favela, did you have a question? Senator, Favela?
Yes. Sorry, what was that? I can hear you. What was that?
Did you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay. Any questions from members? I guess Chair had a question, probably for any of the testifiers. The Chair was inclined to go with the with 11 with Senate Bill 1159, primarily because under last year's rating system, probably 15% of the employers did not pay any tax. And so if we went to D, at least it'd be the lowest, one of the lower rates, but I think all of the employers would have to chip in something, okay? And it's at a relatively low, it's much lower than H, and so I guess I wanted to see what people thought of that, because I think that percentage would be higher this year with given what's happened. So maybe some comment from anybody? Any of the can testifiers come back on?
Yeah. Hi, Senator Taniguchi, Chair Taniguchi. I mean, it's still about 15% of businesses did not pay into the fund pre-COVID. It's still, for the ones that did have to pay into the fund, it will still be an 85% increase. And so we're still concerned, and we understand what I guess the director and your thinking was, but we still believe that many of the small local businesses that did pay into it will now face a much more significant increase, and just keeping it at Schedule C, we believe, will help our local and small businesses by keeping it at Schedule C. So that's our thoughts on that.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Chair, if I might add, you know, we in combination with the Chamber of Commerce, other interested parties, and the director of the department, who were all very collaborative in talking about these potential remedies. We looked over some of the numbers and the calculations, and it's still pretty unclear. It's a work in progress. We know immediate relief needs to be provided to some measure. I think, for example, we don't have answers in terms of that 15% who paid nothing, you know, what was the basis? We are sure there's a mix of those who probably don't pay anything for good reason. There may be some who don't, but until we have more details, it's probably unwise and could potentially cause a lot more business shutdowns if those folks are now required to pay on Schedule B. Likewise, we don't have a lot of long-term details in terms of how much money needs to be made up. There's just a lot that's floating around right now, and there's a lot, you know, this economic recovery is like barely even started, let alone come out of the worst of it. So we think a Schedule C proposal for next year is far more reasonable and least likely to cause more business shutdowns in the near term. And that just gives everybody more time to take a look at the numbers a little closer, get together and powwow in partnership, and just figure out, you know, how do we move this thing forward. So that would be the reason for our preference to have 682 over 1159.
Okay. Could I have the department?
Hi, this is Victor Lim from the Restaurant Association. Many restaurants owners just cannot afford to pay anything more right now. We are barely on life support. You put an increase on it, you're putting the nail into the coffin. So please don't do that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Pamela?
Thank you, Chair. You know, I want to echo what everybody said. Again, we're really dealing with very small businesses in Maui County and across the neighbor islands. Stories on Molokai and Lanai with some of the other things they've been experiencing with Young Brothers increases are very high. As was mentioned earlier today, there are many other bills that are also looking to increase costs. There are many other areas where we're already seeing some costs go up. So our small businesses are just very hard hit. And really our primary goal throughout all of this is to get people off of unemployment. So the more we can help businesses resume normal activity where they can bring employers back will be the best strategy to get people off of unemployment. And we feel keeping the rates as low as possible to help the businesses survive is our best strategy.
Thank you. Could I have the department comment? Anne?
Yes. Hi, Chair. Can you hear us? We cannot bring our video on. We have been blocked off.
There, it's on now.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, Chair and members. I appreciate everyone's comments and their concern for the rates in 2021. I think I'd like to express more the fact that we're omitting benefit charges for 2 consecutive years and doubling up on the including the contributions in the experience rating calculation. That will make a huge difference in determining what those experience ratios employers will have when we do run experience rating. I think that's why we decided that Schedule D was the best schedule to be on, because of the double impact of omitting the charges. It'll be all charges. Every employer will have no charges calculated in their experience rating for 2 consecutive years, but we will be including the contributions made in the 2 consecutive years. That'll be a huge impact on the benefit to employers. Also, I wanted to point out that the schedule would not go up 85% if we went from C to D. The calculation would be way less than that. So on the calculation, the lowest schedule on C is 0%, and the highest is 5.6%. On D, the lowest schedule is 0.2%, and the highest schedule is 5.8%. So it's not an 85% increase in calculations for employers. I understand the need for us to be very cognizant of the impact on employers. Without employers, we don't have money coming into the fund either. So we need the employers to survive. We need them to help us gain strength in our economy. And so I just wanted to, clarify the omission of benefit charges and how we're going to be calculating the experience of employers the next 2 years.
Okay, thank you. Do we have other questions from members? Senator Keokalole?
Yeah, I want to know why Tom Yanchika turned his video on.
Thank you, Senator. I just wanted to I just bring up an issue that I hope the Department of Labor has addressed, but maybe they can tell us. Federal law requires that state laws conform to a very complicated set of rules in the Internal Revenue Code, among other places. And I just wanted to make sure that the proposed omission of benefit charges is okay with the feds, because if it's not, then we'll have other undesirable side effects that we may not want.
And if I can ask the director to answer that question, Chair.
Sure. Ann? Oh. Ann, you gotta unmute. Okay.
I'm sorry. So yes, we have looked into the federal statutes and regulations, and we will be in conformity with omitting benefit charges for those 2 years when we do the experience rating calculation.
Okay. Any further questions from members? If not, I will recess the public hearing. We'll take a short break and be back for decision making in a few minutes. Welcome back. We are currently going to be in decision making. This will be on the two bills that we just heard. Senate Bill 1159 relating to employment security, and Senate Bill 682 relating to employment security. I guess what I will do then is, Chair's going to recommend that we defer on Senate Bill 682 and that we pass Senate Bill 1159 with amendments. We'll amend page 7, line 4. It's more technical, but it's to delete reference to the year 2021 and 2020 and 2021 and replace that with 2021 and 2022. And we also make other technical non-substantive amendments. Do I have any discussion from members? If not, I guess I will call out the vote. So we have Senate Bill 1159. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. The chair goes aye. Senator Ihara is excused. Senator Chang?
Aye.
Senator Keokalole?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
Okay, the measure is adopted. Again, Senate Bill 682 will defer. And so with that, we'll recess this hearing. Oh, do I have to say more stuff?
No, I don't think so. Just,
Okay.
you can submit testimony.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so if people still want to submit testimony, they have till midnight tonight, 11:59 a.m. p.m.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.